And today's topic is kind of mitigate some of the concerns that investors have about the whole concept of investing remotely. So when I say investing remotely, that just for me means anything that it's not in your backyard, so to speak, right? Maybe anything that it's, let's say, significantly far from your house, maybe significantly, how to invest in other parts of the country, in other parts of the world. Obviously, people are doing it. We all have concerns about it, and we always feel that if we don't know the area, it's completely whack. I had a conversation with an investor this week, and most of the things he brought up were, how do I know that I'm not buying a house in the middle of nowhere, so to speak? Okay, how do I know that? So I want to say this. When I got started, which was 2002, seems like a long time ago, the entire internet was different, right? Google was a startup in 2002. I don't think they even had Google Maps at the time. MapQuest, I think, was the application we were using. No Zillow, no Realtor.com, none of those websites, tools, no online data from the county, public records. It was all messy and harder. I mean, it's only, 14 years ago, 16 years ago, 15, 16 years ago, but a completely, different investing environment from someone who's investing remotely. Now, what I did, actually, I lived in Tel Aviv, Israel at the time, bought my first house in Phoenix, Arizona, and I had, very young guy, 25, 26-ish, maybe 27, not a lot of support systems around me, doing my first investment. So first of all, I want to say that I got to the whole concept of investing remotely, out of a pure necessity. Nothing else made sense to me, because I've done some stocks and options, and local real estate didn't really make sense to me, but out of state, out of the country, did make perfect sense to me. So the whole concept for me came out of pure necessity. I always felt, when I started maturing as an investor, maturing as an individual, that I owe it to myself to make the best decision for me, for investment-wise, when it comes to investing in, investing altogether and investing in real estate, right? So it's maybe easier said than done, but that's where my background, or my kind of the core springboard to investing altogether. Now, so when I started, it's completely different environment than when you are here today. I mean, in today we can easily find information about the property, the owners, the county records, the map, the satellite view, the street view. Oh my God, map, street, satellite, just this. We can maybe research about the neighborhood. We can research different websites to gather information, on the street, on the neighborhood, on the city, on the county, on the metro. So it does require legwork. And by the way, thank you for your question, Nir. I will take them obviously in a minute. When I'm done, I'll be happy to take your and other people's questions. And hello, Ofer, good to see you. So when I got started with it, this information was not there. Okay, the fear, was still in me, as I see in today's, when investors that I work with today also have the fear in them, the whole concept of investing remotely. So what can you do? Okay, a couple of things you can do. Some are easier, some are more difficult, some are just time consuming, but definitely a couple of things you can do. So first of all, once you decide where you want to invest, I know there's part of it, the decision, when you will go to different parts of the US, because that's what I know, that's what I'm going to talk about, and you think about investing in a big metro, let's just take Dallas, Texas, right? When you go to Dallas and you see on the map the address of a specific house, or even a neighborhood, or even a region, it's very easy to tell this is not in the middle of nowhere, like the conversation I had with a guy, earlier this week. So it's very easy to tell you're not buying in the middle of nowhere. The best tool for any investor, especially the beginner who's very afraid or very concerned or very not trusting, which is all fine and makes sense, to get over the obstacles of investing remotely, in my opinion, the best tool you can do, hop on a plane and go see what you're buying, okay? Especially if you're a beginner. I know a lot of investors don't want to do that because it's either a significant trip, let's say from Tel Aviv to Phoenix, or even if a significant trip from someone who lives in the States, and they want to go from San Francisco to Dallas, it means a day or two on the road. People, for those of, for the guys from Tel Aviv, it sounds like, why wouldn't you do that? It's easy. From the guys in Silicon Valley or San Francisco, I know well they're too busy. They don't want to take the time. But if you can't do that, that will help you significantly, because then you will go, listen, you're not going to know the area in one day. Ain't going to happen, not even 1 week, okay? But the fact that you are traveling to, let's say, the Dallas Metro, and you're going to see 4 or 5 houses, or 6 or 3, and spend there a day or 2, will give you the comfort zone that you're not buying in the middle of nowhere, that you're not buying a piece of crap, that you're not buying without completely understanding. It makes it feasible. You can touch houses, you can see houses, you can see what you're buying, you can meet the people we're working with in order to feel comfortable with their skill set, with their communication, with their professionalism, in order to execute a purchase. And anytime you're going to go out there, you're going to build your confidence in the whole process that we're doing here, investing remotely. So the best thing for you, especially if you are concerned, is to hop on a plane, spend the time, make the effort at least once. I would say go every time you're buying, but at least for the first time, it will help you not only jump over that hurdle of concern and fear, but it will also make you a better investor. You're going to be spending a day or two in a local market, getting to see what you're buying, what you're investing, the area. Here is the school, here's a new center, here's a new road, here's this, here's things that, when you're out there, you're feeding your brain with things that are going on in the area that are kind of making you a little bit more relaxed about the whole concept of investing. Okay, so number one you can do is travel, right? By the way, when you travel, usually here's what's going to happen. You're going to go, let's say, to Dallas, you spend a day or two there, and here's what you're gonna find out. Nothing. This is going to be as boring as your own neighborhood if you live in the States, or as nice, or as any other US neighborhood. I could probably take you right now and put you on a plane blindfolded, drop you somewhere, middle America in a nice area, and you would not have an idea where you are, because they all look just the same. Because when you drive, here's what you're going to see. Here's the Starbucks, 1, 2, 3 of them, 4 of them. Here is the supermarket, whatever local chain they use. Here's Target, Walmart, right? All of those things, they're just going to be, and all the other chains, you're going to see most of them again and again and again. This is how America is very much duplicating itself. By the way, when you go out there and you realize that, that's a good thing. You're actually saying, okay, I'm buying in a good area, in a nice area, nothing special, nothing that makes me want to be worried about. On the contrary, the same kind of pattern, perfect. So that's usually what happens when you travel out there, to any market, USA, any metro USA, or most metro, assuming you're not going to specific small towns, in the middle of nowhere. That's a whole different, story. But when you go to those metros, with big metros around the country, that's what you're going to see. I want to tell you 2 stories about 2 of my investors who went and they took my advice and flew out there. One came all the way from Tel Aviv, and one came all the way from Silicon Valley, from San Mateo. Both are very good friends. The first guy who went from Tel Aviv, he's been concerned about investing for some time. So he eventually decides he wants to do it. He's been talking to me for a few years, back and forth, and then decides, I'm going to do it. He calls me up and says, you know what, Danny? Here's what I'm going to do. What do you think about me flying out there to Nashville, Tennessee, and spending a week there? And I told him immediately, because I knew by then he's a very concerned investor, super nice guy, that would probably be the best thing he can do. And he decided that he's booking, a flight, and he's not going for just 1 day. He's going for a whole week. And I told him I think I gave him 2 warnings. I told him, listen, 2 things are probably going to happen. I have a feeling that you may want to stay there longer than 1 week because it's a fun city, it's a fun place, and you may not be able to accomplish everything you do. And he said, that's a possibility, it could happen. And the second thing, I told him, I know you were planning on going out there and buying 1 house. My guess is you're actually going to go out and buy at least 2, if not 3. And he said, nah, you don't know me. I'm probably not even going to buy 1, maybe 1. Here's what happened. He went out there, met the team, starts, looking at houses, analyzing, making offers, going out again. He spent a full week going around, really exploring the metro real estate wise, having fun, in Nashville itself during the evening because it's a fun city, and going out to see houses during the day, making offers, analyzing, going back. A week wasn't enough. He actually ended up extending it for another week and stayed there 2 weeks. And as you suspect or maybe believe, he came out with two accepted offers by the time he left the Nashville area and gone back to Israel. And he bought those 2 houses. There was no surprises. They're rented. Everything is fine. The guy's back in Israel already talking about the next one. But that was something that he and we kept talking while he was in Nashville. He said, it's probably the best thing I've done is to go out here, feel comfortable. I like the area. It's a nice area. I like the team. That really builds my confidence about investing here. So that's one guy. The other guy from San Mateo, a very, very good friend, one of my best friends, he flew out to Fort Worth, Texas. So he made an offer first. Then when he got accepted, he scheduled a flight on a short, like within a day or 2 to 3 days to meet the inspector while he was there and my team. So they went out to the house for the inspection. And he calls me after they've been through the inspection, been through everything. He's done. He's just about to leave. Go ahead, head back to the airport. He calls me up and say, "You're not going to believe this." I say, "What's going on?" He says, "I am shocked that I'm buying this $215,000 home in a very good part of DFW, north of Fort Worth, in a good school area. And this house is amazing. It's a beautiful, I think like 4 bedrooms, 2.5 bathroom, 2-car garage, beautiful community, big backyard. The house looks really, nice." He says, "I can't believe I live in San Mateo in a crappy, little house that's worth maybe 1.5 or even more. And I'm buying here for 215, something amazing, amazing." He says, "I want to move here," right? We don't usually buy houses that we necessarily want to move into them, but he was shocked at how a $215,000 house, in a nice community, nice area, by far, it looks much, much better than the house that he lives in San Mateo. He actually hated that fact, right? But he knows it is what it is. So this is an example, 2 examples how our investors sometimes travel. By the way, 85% of our investors, when we tell them, yeah, you should travel, they don't bother taking the time and travel out there because they're busy and life and kids and family. They don't have the time, and we fully understand that. So 85% of the investors we work with don't travel at all, and about 15% do travel, but we always think it's a good thing. So travel, is one thing. Second thing, we just want to make sure you have all your ducks in a row, right? So you got a good agent that tells you, can tell you whatever you want about the area, to provide you with the answers, and then maybe a good property manager you can trust that will also tell you about the area and answer your questions about a specific area where the house is located. So those 2 things. You probably want to make sure you have an inspection done, right? I'm assuming most of you who are not working with us are doing an inspection. If you're not, I think inspections are too cheap to skip. So do an inspection. It's a third person that's coming to a house, right? So agent and property manager, maybe property manager, depending on your relationship, and an inspector, and then an appraisal comes to the house if you're buying with a mortgage. All of those, those are at least four people that are coming to your house. So you get your own due diligence plus trusted teams that are going to the house, and they're each going to have their independent opinion and will tell you what they think about the house, the area, etc. So that helps build that confidence and making sure you're using them. Don't skip inspections. They're too cheap to skip for the amount of house we're buying, obviously. Okay. Of course, one of the biggest challenges that I'm seeing with investors who are working by themselves, they go out and they just randomly pick an agent or randomly pick or somewhat randomly pick a property management company. The problem I've seen with this is most agents, if you're gonna call someone today as an agent and you say, "Oh, I want to buy a rental property, can you help me?" What do you think their answer is going to be? Of course, right? From their standpoint, buying a primary residence for their client who wants to live in and buying an investment property, it's pretty much the same process, right? Well, I beg to differ. I think there's a lot of similarities and there are a lot of things that are different. And if the agent who doesn't know, investment mindset and doesn't know how to analyze properly what to look for in investment property on multiple facets, they're not going to lead you into the right house, right? So that's very important to know. Second thing, I think regarding property managers, if you're just going to call someone randomly, or even you're going to call 5 property management companies, and pretty quickly you're going to ask them what your fees are, and you may end up going on with the one who is charging 5%. There's a very good chance you will end up choosing the wrong one, because from my experience, most good property management companies out there charge anywhere from 7 to 10% an official rate, right? And if you're going with a guy who's is a little bit out of that range, I would be very suspicious. This is a clear situation of someone, not a clear, most likely of someone potentially either cutting corners or not doing the full job they're supposed to do. So don't, when you choose property managers, the fee is the last thing you should be worried about. Because if you're, think about it for a second. You're renting a house and for $1,000, and one property management is charging 9% and another one is charging 6%, okay, right? The difference per month, it's $30, right? It's not worth $30. I mean, it's not small, nickel and dime, but it's not worth the amount of risk that the guy who's only charging 6% will probably present you. Now, if you know they're good and that's their fee and you trust them and you think they can handle everything, that's fine. I'm not saying, you shouldn't, but just be aware that property manager will charge you lower fees. It's just so rare that there's probably something, going on there. For me, it's immediately fishy situation, but I'm open to investigate further to see if those are reliable ones. So don't be attracted to the fees only. So we talked about traveling out there, making sure multiple parties, independent parties, go to the property to inspect and to check. Make sure you gotta check good, reliable, have the proper agent, right, in mind, and not just an agent because they seem nice on the phone. That's just not good enough. And of course, don't choose property managers just because they're cheap. That's, for me, not a reason to select one. It will maybe save you a few bucks and cost you many, many more dollars. And lastly, the one thing that we've been doing, and I think this is exactly what we're trying to the added value that we try to bring, is if you work with a network like us, like Simply Do It, then what's going to happen is this. We vet agents. We vet property managers. I mean, for me, vetting a property manager, it's a process that, many hours. Vetting an agent, again, a process of multiple hours. From my experience of after being involved in the transaction of more than 3,500 rental properties, you know what to ask. You know who's the serious one. You know what to, how to drill down the problem, to ID the issues, to see what works, who works, who doesn't work. Up until today, over so many years, more than 15 years of being involved in real estate or helping others, I had to let go one property management company. One. The only reason I had to let them go is not because they were criminals or crooks, not at all. Those are very nice guys. Actually, they're trying to court us all over again to bring our business back to them. The only reason I had to let them go is because their working standards were not good enough for what we expect. And we had a lot of complaints, and when we had a lot of complaints and they didn't, step up and fix those things, we had to let them go. And they are good people, honest people, nothing in the sense of doing, fishy stuff at all, just not good enough for our standard. They could pass, they could work, just not good enough for us. So when we find agents and property managers, we vet them, we do the following. First of all, we train them. So the agents know how to look at the rental properties, what the investors are looking for, how to work with investors. So we don't just take random people, that we think are okay. We take random people, not random. We find good people, we check them, we vet them, we train them, and then we ongoingly work with them to support them, to help them become better. The property management companies, again, we do a lot of vetting. That's a very lengthy process. And once we find the right company, not because they're cheap, because they have the proper processes, experience, and so on in place to support our transaction, we will want to choose them. And we go in with our buying power and we ask for more. We ask for more services. We ask for a better fee for you. Anything that we can use the buying power to negotiate and provide you with more services, more fees, perfect. It's a win-win. So when you work with us, you get all this, infrastructure that helps you execute purchases, knowing you're not just an individual buyer with one property or maybe two properties with one agent or one property management company. You belong to a big account. Usually, we are the biggest account with the property management company. So when you talk to the property manager, they know you belong to Simply Do It. It already puts you on a higher level. It's like a VIP just by association, right? And if you have an issue with a property management company and you're one of our clients, and you call us up and you say, hey, I need help. I need to check something with you before I respond back to the property manager, or I need you to step in and help me resolve the problem. We step in and resolve the problem. It's easy for us to do because although we are not their employers, because I'm not involved with the company, as an owner or anything like that, but we are their biggest account. They consider us, when someone calling from Simply Do It, it's like the boss is on the line because we bring them so much work. So they are very much open to solving problems, doing things out of their comfort zone in order to see the big picture with us to make sure our clientele, our investors are happy. So when you're doing this, remember, traveling is very important. Doesn't have to be, right? Working with the right property managers and agents on the ground and doing inspection, all very important. And when you work with a network like us, this is already built into the system. Some of those things are operating well in the background without you even knowing. The agent is already talking to the property manager, and the agent already, informing the lender that you're under contract, and all those things, they're working in the background very smoothly. And it's by design. It's not by by chance or by luck, because we make sure all those functions, they know each other well, at least the main ones, and then they can operate, communicate better on your behalf. That really helps preventing from things falling through the cracks, and we don't want that, right? That's what we're trying to avoid. So those are the things that I wanted to say about buying remotely. I see that there are already questions coming up. I'll take them. If you have any more questions, regarding the topic or other topics, by all means, post them here, and I will address them one by one. And I'm just going to say, if you scroll to the beginning of the notes of the comments, you'll see two links. One on an interview we did yesterday, I did with one of our investors who talks about the experience of working with us from his perspective, from his end. Very nice guy, very intelligent, had a lot to share. So I really appreciate him taking the time. I think he's here as well on the session. I'm not sure if it's still here or not. He was. That's one link. The second link is the ebook, a free ebook you can download, easy read, easy to follow, very logic, very common sense, very step-by-step outline. So someone who wants to go through the process and kind of get a little bit more clear process-wise how it works, what to do, etc. It's not a checklist. It truly is an ebook. You're most welcome to download it. Both of those links are, if you scroll to the top, you'll see them. One is a case study, one is an ebook. Now let's see the questions that came in. Question number 1. When investing remotely, how do you pick crew for a flip? Nir, excellent question. This is a very, very, very challenging process. It's all about vetting, and vetting. So there's not an easy solution. There's not like 1, 2, 3, and you're good. Every time I have to pick a new crew for a flip, it's a whole, it takes me many hours until I choose one party involved. So I can tell you, for example, next week, Sunday, I'm flying over to Tampa. I have multiple projects going on there, but one project is a very big project. We're converting a school from the 1920s into multiple condos, right? So we're already under contract. We are going to meet with, between the different relevant vendors, more than 20 different vendors that are somehow related. We only need 5, but each category, 4 or 5, we have like 4 or 5 categories. Each category we're going to meet with 4 to 5 different people, and that's just meetings, not who we're going to take to the next level of due diligence and vetting. So this is 3 people next week, for Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, 3 full days, running between different vendors, meeting them, questioning them, and so on. So just to give you an example, one big project, how we go about it, and that's just tip of the iceberg of the vetting process. Okay, so not an easy solution here. Crime, multiple crimes websites. You just type, Truly has a good, I think has had a good crime indicator. There's another website, I can't remember its name. You just do crime, and it will give you crime statistics. Maybe someone else can search, but there are multiple websites online that will do that. Socioeconomic statistics. How do you pick your remote investment property? So demographics. Just go search demographics. Go to search by demographic by zip code. You can do Movutu demographic and the zip code. It will give you all the demographics of the areas. Easy. That information, I mean, you gotta do a little bit of search, but it's out there. Demographic, zip code, Movutu, usually one that I like to use. There's another one that you can compare multiple zip codes up to 4. That's easy to use as well. By the way, I want to add one more thing before I take the next question. One thing that I have noticed from a lot of investors is that they tend to do so much online analysis or data gathering, and they're not doing maybe one of the most important things they can do. They don't call the agent and talk to him about what's going on. I'll give you an example. We had a session. We're now doing sessions, recorded sessions with all our agents with just the past week to kind of to have an opportunity to record them and share it with our investors, those who are buying with us, what's going on in Dallas or Nashville, etc. Okay, so the Dallas guy, James, and I had a session yesterday, and we talked about for 20 minutes, just a conversation about Dallas, recorded so we can share that information with you. And he said, there's an area that I like, that the schools are not great. But he said it, I loved how he said it. He said, listen, Danny, I'm not a fan of the schools. I'm a huge fan of the area. So that means this is a very strong rental area. Although the schools are not amazing, they're not bad, but they're not at the top. It still makes perfect sense to go out there. A lot of us investors, me included, we go online and we search and we search and we do an analysis here and Google there and Zillow there, which is all fine, and Google Maps, fine. The one thing we don't tend to do enough, get on the phone, talk to the agent, see what they say. Every time that I talk to the agent, there's another gem, another information, 1, 2, 3 pieces of information that are critical to the decision, and no website will even record it anywhere. And that's only on the ground, boots on the ground, that will tell you that. So if you're an investor and you're really stuck here in front of the screen, that's not the only place. This is a good place, but not enough. Don't forget to talk to the agents. Give them some credit. They know what they're doing, right? Or at least the good ones. Okay, moving on. Yuval is asking, you mentioned that a person was there for 2 weeks. Is just 1 to 2 days on a weekend enough? Yuval, I think 1 day is enough if you have to make it short. The one guy that went there for 2 weeks, actually went for 1 week and stayed another. He was just, I would say, he's one of my good friends. He lives in Tel Aviv, in Israel. But his personality is, he told me from the first time we spoke, he said, Danny, I'm a very concerned, skeptic investor. For me to execute, I'm not going to be rushed into it. I'm going to take my time. And he really took his time. But he said, I'm the one guy who really afraid to pull the trigger. So I have to be very, 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 very comfortable with everything. And it took him a long time, and he did execute. And he felt that he needs to stay a little bit longer than 1 to 2 days, because that's not enough. He traveled all the way from Tel Aviv. So that's what made sense to him. I never saw anyone doing like this, staying for 2 weeks. Usually it's a day or 2. I have another investor, an experienced investor. She already purchased a few properties with us. She is spending this week in Nashville because she wants to get things, she wants to be really focused on, she wants to get to know the market, get to know the team, but primarily she's saying, for whatever reasons, I need to buy 3 to 4 more properties as quickly as possible. I want to take the time and spend a week in Nashville. so I can actually quickly, execute, see the properties, and move forward. She says from a distance it takes me more time. Now I'm taking some time off, a week vacationing in Nashville, vacation, real estate vacation. I think maybe it's a new category of vacation, and I'm going to spend there. And my goal is to come out of that week with at least 3 properties, if not 4, because I have other things in my life I have to get to, and I need to take care of that before I can get to the other things. I'm not going to go into all the details. And she is also very concerned person, super analytical, maybe one of the most analytical people I've ever met from Silicon Valley, if not the top one. She's very detailed, very, very detailed, very, very, kind of looking for what can go wrong. But she's an investor. She's already has an experience of a few properties. She's buying now. We were going back and forth this week with the list with the short list she gave me. What do you think about this 8 or 9 properties? We narrow it to 4. Out of those 4, 2 were no longer relevant. We added 2 more. So we kind of played with it, and she's there. She's running around properties on one end, submitting offers on the other. For her, it's it's different because she's been through the process with us before, so she knows it. She knows it more closely. On one end, on the other end, she wants to be on the ground and feel more confident. I think one of the things she learned, it's better to go and be on the ground and make those decisions and not do it remotely. For her, that's her personality. She's a little bit more hands-on, detailed person, so it fits her personality very well. And I'm glad she's doing it, because it's very, it's a good way for her to go about it. So 1 day is enough. 2 days, it's enough. If you feel that you need more, then because you're a little bit more of a concerned person, by all means, no problem. 1 day, okay. In case where you don't meet the team while there because there's no time, I would say the chances of you not coordinating and meeting with the team are very small, because you're going to probably plan it in advance, few days, a week. If the agent can take you for some reason, or the property manager, usually there's another person involved either in the property management or supporting the agent that can show you around. Usually, assuming you're not going to land in Dallas and say, hey, I'm at the airport, can you come pick me up, out of nowhere, then you shouldn't be, there shouldn't be any problem. Sorry for that. Shouldn't be any problem coordinating it in advance. And between property managers and agents, usually it's not a one-man kind of a team. There's secondary people involved that may be a little bit in the background to us, but that can help you. So I don't think that's a problem. Don't surprise them. Please don't call them from the airport. I'm here. Can you pick me up? Not going to work. Okay. How do you record the visit trip as a real estate investing trip for tax purposes? You're just going to gather all your expenses on that trip. It's tax deductible. Put it somewhere, remember it somewhere, and when you do your taxes at the end of the year, or when the year is over, there's a category in your tax return for your real estate saying that you can say traveling expenses or something along those lines, and you just put whatever the expenses are. That's it. Nowadays you don't. Years back, people, CPAs would say keep your receipts and keep your. You can't do that, but who needs that when everything is on your statements from the credit card company, or you have records in your email for the purchase of the tickets and all of that. So that's easy, but as easy as that. Don't make it complicated. Just make sure to remember to put yourself. See, here's what I do. I have one notebook. I'm a little bit old school, right? But this is a summary notebook. Every year I take, every time I have something to put in, that I know it's all taxes related, right? But it's only important notes. So if I go to 2017, there's this trip that I need to remember, and one thing here, and one expense that I need to remember, not real estate related. So I'm just taking notes how I do things. If I have an audit in few years and someone asking, why did you decide to split that percentage between land and structure? Here's where I write my notes when I make those decisions. I'm just putting it in a few words, maybe a sentence or two. If someone comes up and asks me, 6 years ago, you said that the land is worth 23.26%, then I know why. I know. Here's why. Here's why. I'm not going to remember it, but here's why. So that's the only thing that I'm using which is not online, right? Just to keep all those tax notes over here. You can do the same. Whatever. Just open that file, put this information in, you're good to go. Okay? So Yuval and Nir are in competition for who's getting the most questions today. Good job, guys. I love it. I love questions. That's great. Is the Tampa project a syndication that you are arranging? In simple terms, yes. Okay. I don't know. We haven't finished all the information just yet, but that's where we're heading. It seems it most likely is going to be a syndication with loan. You know, it's a 3.5 mil project. $3.5 million, probably about $1 million in cash and 2.5 in a loan. If an investor traveled to the area, do you meet them there? If you're asking if I'm going to meet you there, we can arrange that. There's going to be a high fee for it for me to come out there and be there. I've done that. People have paid that. Not too often, but it does happen. It can be done. But typically, my team on the ground, property manager and agent, will meet you there. We'll make sure it's all coordinated. So the simple answer is yes, probably not me. Some, you know, special circumstances, it could be me. Unrelated questions. Do you think investing in single family homes right now is as attractive as commercial properties when new tax reform reduced depreciation to 25 years instead of, this is a whole topic, Yuval. I'm not going to go dive into it because you're already 45 minutes into. We may have a separate topic about it or a separate conversation. My apologies. There are some time constraints. I like to keep those sessions at about 45 minutes or less. And I'll be happy to share about the Tampa project when it becomes more relevant. It will take some time. Okay, great. So I want to thank everyone for participating, for joining. If I see a lot of Hebrew speakers on by names, if you wonder why I speak English and not Hebrew, it's because this is open to the public. We have people from all over, so to speak, and many of them are not Hebrew speakers. So thank you for that understanding. And if you joined a little bit later, just go and check the links that I've put at the beginning of the comments. One for an ebook that we have, second one for a case study that we just did with one of our investors on his experience. And if you want to definitely talk to us, get in touch with me. Facebook, email, phone, text, WhatsApp, Skype, all works, no problem. Good. Nir, I'm going to stop here because, again, sorry, this is another topic. I want to be wrap the session for today. We can, you know what, we can actually take this topic and make another session about it next week or the following. I appreciate that. We are here every week, or trying to be here every week, every Friday, 11 a.m. Pacific time. I'm based in California, 11 a.m. Pacific time. You're most welcome to join us. We are recording it on Facebook, it's going to go on YouTube, and it's going to go on a podcast. You're most welcome to use any of them. And if you're watching the recording, most welcome to place comments as well at that time when you're watching it. Thank you very much, everyone. Have a terrific weekend, rest of your day. Happy Friday. Happy Friday the 13th. Talk to you soon, I hope, in person. Have a terrific one. Thank you for the questions and your participation. Bye-bye, everyone.